Okay, so good morning, grade sixes. I'm obviously doing this during Purim. That's why I look like this. I hope you guys don't find it too distracting. I'm just going to talk you through the work that you need to do today. Today should be Monday. So on Monday, the plan is to do section D. You should be in your grade 7 textbooks now. That's on ManageBack. You should be able to get those. So I'm going to give you a few moments. If you want to, just go open those. Pause this video, go open your textbook. So on page 375, go to section D. Okay, welcome back. You should have your textbooks open now. So what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to be talking about something called sample space. And if you read at the top here, if you follow my mouse cursor, you should see a sample space is a set of possible outcomes of an experiment. So we're literally just listing the probability, not the probability, but sorry, the outcomes that can happen, all of them. That's the idea. So obviously, depending on how complex the experiment is, in other words, the amount of variables or things that could happen, you're going to have a different amount of outcomes. If we look at this first one over here, if we have a coin, it's pretty straightforward. Where every time we flip a coin, it's either going to be head or tails. That's all it's going to be, heads or tails. So the way that we write this is, and this is what you need to learn, is you're just going to designate H as heads and T as tails. And then you write it like this. So in a bracket, capital H, comma, T. In other words, you're saying the two possible outcomes that could potentially happen is heads, tails. Simple as that. With a die or dice, slightly different. We're going to be looking at die. Okay, remember die is 1, and then a dice as if it's 2. That's the difference. Okay, we all know that with one die, there are 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Therefore, if you roll one die once, the possible outcomes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, written over there. Please follow the cursor. And that's basically how we represent the sample space. Pretty straightforward. We then get spinners, and obviously with spinners, there can be a huge number of different options. It could be 4, could be 5, could be 6, could be 7, could be 8. In this instance over here, it's 8. By literally just spinning this spinner once, we could have 8 possible outcomes. The way we represent that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very, very easy. Okay, so this is going to be quite a straightforward exercise. Most of you should be done long before the period ends. If that's the case, you can move on to some iMaths, or you may do other homework. But I want you to focus on just doing there's other kids here. I want you to focus on just doing exercise D for now. We'll do an example to show you what you should do. Okay, so in this example over here, it says, list the possible outcomes for the children in a 2-child family. So ignore the picture there. I think that's a mistake that I was making as well. You don't need to look at the picture. Just read the question again. List the possible outcomes for the children in a 2-child family. So what they mean here is gender. So in that instance, you could either, if you look at the answer, you could either have both of the children being a boy, so boy, boy, one of the first child being a boy, second child being a girl, first child being a girl, second child being a boy, or that both of the kids are girls. So there are 4 possible outcomes to which that could have happened. Okay, so that will be our sample space. Then let's look at the next one, slightly more complicated. List the possible outcomes for 2. That's very important, for 2 spins of this spinner. And then we need to look at the spinner that's actually represented over here. Okay, so we can obviously see that there's 4 different options here, but remember there's 2 spins. Okay, so either we could get as our first spin A, and then we go through all the other possibilities. So first spin A, second spin A, first spin A, second spin B, first spin A, second spin C, first spin A, second spin D. Hope you're realizing that the second letter represents the second spin, the first letter represents the first spin. And then we just go through all the possible, let me just move this up so you can see, all the possible outcomes that you could get. So these first 4 over here, that's taking into account that your first spin is going to be A. But obviously your first spin could be B. So the next 4 are if your first spin is B and then all the possible other outcomes that could occur. Next one, first spin C and all the possible outcomes that occur. And then next one, first spin D and all the possible outcomes that could occur. So you should realize that There's many different ways to do this, and there's quite a lot to write out. So in total, there should be 16 different outcomes. Okay. For those who didn't get it, I'm going to repeat it, okay? The first letter represents the first spin, okay? That could be an A. However, you then have a second spin, which could then be any number, any letter. It could be an A, a B, a C, or a D. Or, on your first spin, you could get a B. That doesn't mean automatically that your second spin will also be. It could be an A, it could be a B, it could be a C and D. And you go through all of that. So you need to learn how to write this as a sample space. You need to be able to write it in the same format. And what's important, actually, is you should be indicating what each letter represents. Okay? So for example, in the answer to question A, we said, we let B represent a boy and G represent a girl. I don't want you to just write the answer. You need to say which letter represents what first. Very important, okay? So, with that in mind, you need to do exercise 19D, and all it is listing sample spaces for given situations, okay? 3 is slightly different, a bit complicated, but try and give it a go, write down an answer. And yes, you are going to have to do a lot of writing for this. That's fine. That's your task for today, though. And please, yet again, you're doing letters. You're only writing down one letter. Write down what each letter represents. Okay? So I can help you with the first one. It reads, flipping a disc with a crown on one side and a diamond on the other side. If I was doing this, I would say, let C represent crown and let D represent diamond. And then you're going to go back and write out the format similar to this. Okay, cool. Thank you. I hope that you can get your work done. I'm sure that should keep you busy for the majority of the lesson, and I hope that you are treating your substitute teacher very well. Thank you, grade 6s, and good luck.